Good morning, this is Observer Television News for Monday, December 8th. I'm Laura Stanley here with Kinga Jakab, and here are the headlines. Police charge a 52-year-old man with the murder of his wife. Raptors lose a close game, and a winner is crowned in the So You Think You Can Dance competition. And now to our top story. Kinga?
Thanks, Laura, and good morning, everyone. Police charged a Toronto man with second-degree murder yesterday after they found his wife dead in their family home. Toronto Police Department Sergeant Gary Giroux said the man, 52-year-old Mladen Praljak, is under police supervision in a hospital. The man has self-inflicted wounds to his arms. An autopsy showed that his wife died of a single stab to the chest.
The man named JSR has been found guilty of second-degree murder for the 2005 Boxing Day shooting that killed 15-year-old Jane Kriba. It took jurors 4 days before reaching a verdict Sunday afternoon. JSR was also found guilty of 2 charges of aggravated assault and 5 weapons charges. JSR is among 8 other people who face manslaughter and second-degree murder charges related to the shooting. The trials are scheduled for next year.
A report from the RCMP's fraud squad says that organized crime has become a significant threat to the Canadian economy. Crime groups are shifting from the conventional smuggling, extortion, and counterfeiting. Instead, Mounties said, they are moving to a more sophisticated realm of high finance and market manipulation. RCMP's integrated market enforcement team said that major crime groups use professional facilitators within the industry. This report is the first strategic intelligence report by the fraud squad.
The death toll of Canadian soldiers killed in Afghanistan has now hit 100. Corporal Mark Robert McLaren, Warrant Officer Robert John Wilson, and Private Dimitrios Deplaros was killed Friday after the vehicle they were traveling in was hit by a roadside bomb. The bodies of the 3 soldiers will travel across the Highway of Heroes from Trenton to Toronto sometime today.
Investigators are trying to figure out if the young man whose car swerved off of Burlington Highway yesterday had been speeding. The 20-year-old man struck the guardrail and a lamp on the QEW at Walker's Line, police said. He died of his injuries in Hamilton Hospital later that morning. His name will not be released until his next of kin are notified.
Just north of the lakeshore off the Don Valley Parkway, you'll find workers of the CoreX ULC on the picket line. Over the past 5 months, they have set up a cozy camp just outside the factory gates. Observers TV's Allison Werbowetsky reports. We'll have that for you at a later time.
A Toronto neighborhood is divided over a Walmart shopping center that might be moving in next door. Abby Crosby reports.
Eastern Avenue could soon be home to a new Walmart. It's an addition that's causing a headache for some Leslieville business owners. Michael Simpson is less than impressed.
It's a terrible idea. Everybody in Toronto seems to be opposed to it, and yet the OMB just pushes it through as if they know better than the people who live here.
Greg Lotto lives in the area. He doesn't understand what all the fuss is about.
As far as Walmart goes, it's only it'll create jobs, and it's just going to bring more people into the neighborhood. I don't think a lot of stores are going to be directly hurt by a Walmart going in. So I think it's a good thing.
The developers say they've kept the tone of the neighborhood in mind. It's not going to look like a typical Walmart. The drawings show lots of trees and a brick exterior.
It isn't just a huge box and surrounded by a parking lot. It seems to really fit in with the area.
Michael Simpson isn't convinced.
It's a nice sentiment, but it doesn't really help.
The battle over the big box stores in Leslieville continues, but the Ontario Municipal Board will have the final say. They'll make a decision on the development sometime before Christmas. For Observer Television, I'm Abby Crosby.
The city has introduced new recycling rules. Retail and plastic bags can now be recycled as long as any twist ties and drawstrings are removed. Styrofoam and takeout containers can also be recycled as long as they are clean. When putting plastic bags in your recycling bin, the city asks that the bags be placed in one bag, tied in a knot, and they ask that you do not use any elastics or twist ties.
And oh dear, a fawn was rescued by 2 men early Saturday, Northumberland OPP and county paramedics said. Hunter Larry Crow Jr. and his cousin Daryl Smoke saw the deer stranded on the ice out on Rice Lake, just north of Coburg. They put the deer into their boat, but the extra weight left the 3 of them stuck in the slushy ice. People spotted them struggling and called the police. All 3 are fine. Now there is much debate about whether to call the deer Rudolph or Lucky.
Here's an interesting story out of Boston. After going into labor, John Davis decided to drive his wife, Jennifer, to their local hospital. After getting on the highway, the couple was faced with horrible traffic, forcing them to drive on the shoulder. The couple said that the two state troopers let them use the shoulder to move through the traffic. And after running into a third state trooper, the couple said that they had to wait while the trooper issued someone else a ticket. The trooper then came over and handed the couple a ticket in an envelope, telling them that they would receive a ticket. Davis gave birth in hospital a couple hours later to their daughter, Charlotte Jane. The Davises intend to appeal their ticket. And that's all from the news desk. For now, let's send it over to Matt McKay for the latest in entertainment. Matt?
Thanks, Lauren. Hello, everyone. Well, it looks like the juice will not be loose after a Nevada judge sentenced O.J. Simpson, who is now 61, to serve potentially 33 years in prison with no chance for parole after 9 years. Back in October, the former football star stormed a Las Vegas hotel room with 5 other men, kidnapping, assaulting, and robbing 2 sports memorabilia dealers at gunpoint. Simpson pleaded for leniency, saying he apparently didn't mean to hurt or steal anything from anybody. Also found guilty on Friday, pop singer Boy George. Yes, a British jury convicted the former Culture Club frontman of falsely imprisoning a Norwegian male escort. Udon Carlson accused the singer of both restraining him with handcuffs and for swinging a metal chain at him after a naked photo shoot. He tried to flee the musician's London apartment. Apparently, Boy George handcuffed Carlson for removing photos off George's home computer from a previous photo shoot they had together. Sentencing will take place on January 16th. I can't read numbers. And speaking of naked photo shoots, I have horrible news to report for Women Everywhere. Playgirl magazine has printed its last issue, effectively, I can't read either, ending its 35-year run. Its editor-in-chief says the demise of Playgirl leaves a void in women's erotica, but also added that it will continue to run an online version. The final version of the magazine is available on newsstands now. And finally, Fox News Channel announced influential conservative radio talk show host Bill O'Reilly will give up his syndicated show in the new year. It did say he will continue to do his TV show, The O'Reilly Factor. O'Reilly said the workload of screaming out his partisan views and bullying guests on 2 mediums turned out to be too much for him, saying he could no longer give them both the attention they deserve. And now for the Centennial TV special report, a famous theater group based out of the University of Toronto is bringing a famous musical to life in the new year. Reporter Katherine Wellman takes us behind the scenes into the rehearsal process.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7.
The award-winning musical Urinetown is making waves at the University of Toronto. UC Follies, a theater group of community actors and students, have begun rehearsing for their early 2009 debut. Director Neil Silcock says this year's production was chosen for its simplicity.
It's a relatively simple show, and there's nothing really crazy complex going on, but it's still a really great show. It's really funny. It's sort of sophomore humor.
Already halfway into rehearsals, Silcox and music director Tara Litvak have been impressed by the process so far.
They're very, very intensive, really have to, go through pitches like crazy and teach harmonies like crazy, but they've been going fine, just very intensive already, and hopefully it'll be good by the time of the show.
Although the resulting crew is excited about production, the directors admit audition turnout was low at the casting calls.
It was a little lower this year than we had expected before, and part of that was sort of miscommunication in our casting call, and a part of that also is that we weren't trying to reach out as much to the community outside of the university.
Now with a final cast, intensive rehearsals will continue into the new year.
UC Follies production Urinetown opens February 5th, 2009 at Hart House at the University of Toronto. For more information, visit uftix.com. For Observer TV News, I'm Katherine Wellman.
And that's all from me, but don't touch that dial. We'll be right back after this.
Welcome back. I'm Ryan Sang for Entertainment. 3.5 million votes later, a Montreal dancer is now driving away with a hot set of wheels and a whole lot of coin. Nico Archambault became Canada's Dancing King last night on the first season of So You Think You Can Dance Canada. The 24-year-old walked away with $100,000 and a new Mercedes-Benz. He joined the other top 10 finalists in a 15-city Canadian tour. The tour starts January 30th in Vancouver. Well, it's no surprise here, Oprah Winfrey has been named entertainment's most powerful woman. The Hollywood Reporter released their annual Power 100 list Friday. Editors say Winfrey was chosen for her immense cultural influence. Case in point, the University of Maryland study found that her support for Obama won him more than 1 million votes. Other women on the list include Angelina Jolie at number 24 and Tina Fey at 51. GossipGirl.com is reporting this morning that David Beckham was involved in an incident with a paparazzo. Beckham's bodyguard jumped into action when the photog was pursuing the soccer star while driving. The bodyguard also allegedly threw the photographer's camera in the garbage. Police came shortly after to break the fight up. There's no word on charges. Well, the rain didn't stop people from lining up around the block at Yonge and Dundas. They were there for a chance to buy a piece from Japan's Comme des Garçons designer collection at H&M. Observer TV's Joe Clausen has the story.
We're here on November 13th at Yonge and Dundas Square, H&M.
Doctor, you're going so fast.
Launching their collaboration with the retail giant. We're just waiting for the doors to open right now. There's a line stretched around the block, and people have been waiting here since 8:30 last night in this lovely, lovely rain that we're having.
The collaboration between H&M and Rei Kawakubo, the head designer for Comme des Garçons, was announced on October 7th. Kawakubo designed a men's and women's collection.
Yeah, I previewed the entire collection. There's a couple things I'm like queuing up for, you know, that I'm crossing my fingers.
It's my daughter, it's my day off, and she took me here from here. I'm excited though, 10 minutes. What's it called? This? A coffee permit?
When the stores opened, over 200 Comme des Garçons fans rushed in. The Swedish retailer has worked with many high-end designers in the past, like Karl Lagerfeld and Stella McCartney. Each time a collection is released, it sells out almost immediately. Within a few hours, it was difficult to find any Comme des Garçons merchandise left on the racks.
This is Joe Clausen, Observer TV News.
Taking a look at the weekend numbers at the box office, For Christmas starring Reese Witherspoon and Vince Vaughn topped the list for the second week in a row. The movie raised $8 million. Vampire flick Twilight came in second at $13 million. Bolt, starring John Travolta and Miley Cyrus, landed the third slot with just under $10 million. It's okay. And that wraps up this week's look at entertainment. Now let's send it over to the A-team, Abby and Andrew, for a look at sports.
Welcome back, and hello everyone. I'm Andrew Serba with Abby Crosby, and here's the latest in sports. First up, England's cricket team is ready to head back to India for a 2-test series. The series was put on hold after the terrorist attacks in Mumbai. Executives of the Professional Cricketers Association consulted with security experts in India and gave the test the go-ahead. The first will take place on Thursday in the city of Chennai. The second is tentatively scheduled for December 19th. Giles Clark, president of the England Cricket Board, told BBC Radio that the board is determined not to let terrorism do the game of cricket harm. 19-year-old Michelle earned herself a spot on the LPGA Tour yesterday. The top 20 players in the qualifying tournament in Daytona Beach were all guaranteed spots on next season's tour. Ending the tournament at 12 under par, Weed tied for 7th place. Last year, her game was hampered by a nagging wrist injury. She told media yesterday that her top 10 finish feels like a fresh start. In the Canadian curling world, Wayne Middaugh won his 8th Grand Slam title yesterday. He defeated Brad Gushue at the National Curling Tournament 4-3. Middaugh is second in curling titles only to Edmonton's Kevin Martin. Martin currently holds 13 championship titles. Middaugh took home $24,000 for his win. Cycling great Lance Armstrong is getting ready to make his return next year. Armstrong told the media that a passion for racing and promoting his charitable foundation have prompted him to come out of retirement. His first race will be in the Tour Down Under in Australia. He'll be 2 months away from his 38th birthday when the tour starts. Attempts in Toronto to make bike sharing a popular way to commute have come and gone. A new system developed in Montreal is showing Torontonians that bikes can be a convenient way to get around. Bryden Suits has the story.
Montreal's parking authority brought their homegrown bike-sharing system, Bixi, to Toronto for people on the street to get a look at and try out. The parking authority's vice president said the system was the result of a need for a more active, eco-friendly way to get around town.
It started with the transportation plan that the city of Montreal put ahead last year. A big place was for active transportation, and bicycle sharing was part of that.
Toronto councillor Adrian Heaps wants a bike sharing program in the city next year. He has not said what kind of system they will go with. From the outset, Bixi's creators wanted their system to be easy for commuters to use.
You'll remember, you'll have a little key like this, and you'll be able to unlock the bike just by putting it in right away. So kind of like this. Put it in, and when the signal is green, you just take the bike out and you leave and you do your ride, and once you're done you go back to another station and you just put it in, and the bike locks up by itself just like that.
Bixi's sleek design and user-friendly nature could offer commuters another way to get around Toronto's busy downtown core. Bike sharing in Toronto has not had a successful history. The buzz Bixi brought with it may just be the push it needed.
I mean, I ride my bike regularly, but if I happen to be, downtown without my bike and I needed to get somewhere quickly, I think that I would use this.
Where other plans have failed in the past, this new plan seems to have wheels. This is Bryden Suits, Observer Television, Toronto.
That's all for me. Here's Abby with more sports.
Thanks, Andrew. The Raptors couldn't quite pull off a win yesterday for new head coach Jay Triano. They lost 97-98 to the Portland Trail Blazers. This was loss number 4 in a row for the Raps, who owned the first quarter of the game. They were up by 11 points, then by halftime it was all Portland. Jermaine O'Neal put in a good performance though, scoring 24 points and 6 blocks. Chris Bosh scored 19. The Raps will try again on the road tomorrow. They'll be taking on the Cavaliers in Cleveland. Those preparing for the Vancouver 2010 Olympics are feeling an economic pinch and getting ready for the worst. The Vancouver Organizing Committee is looking at ways to cut costs. They're reducing business travel, hiring fewer people during the lead up to the games, and they're also looking at publishing any information online instead of paying for print. VANOC is also trying to increase revenue by adding seat sales for both the opening and the closing ceremonies. There has been word that certain sponsors like GM and Bell are in trouble, but VANOC isn't worried. No sponsors have backed out of their commitments yet. The committee is presenting a new budget for the games tomorrow. Toronto will soon have a new way to get around the city. A bike-sharing program modeled after one in Montreal will be hitting the streets. Bride in Suits reports again.
Montreal's parking authority brought their homegrown bike-sharing system, Bixi, to Toronto for people on the street to get a look at and try out. The parking authority's vice president said the system was the result of a need for a more active, eco-friendly way to get around town.
It started with the transportation plan that the City of Montreal put ahead last year. A big place was for active transportation, and bicycle sharing was part of that.
Toronto Councillor Adrian Heaps wants a bike-sharing program in the city next year. He has not said what kind of system they will go with. From the outset, Bixi's creators wanted their system to be easy for commuters to use.
You'll remember, you'll have a little key like this, and you'll be able to unlock the bike just by putting it in right away. So kind of like this. Put it in, and when the signal is green, you just take the bike out and you leave and you do your ride, and once you're done you go back to another station and you just put it in and the bike locks up by itself just like that.
Bixi's sleek design and user-friendly nature could offer commuters another way to get around Toronto's busy downtown core. Bike sharing in Toronto has not had a successful history. The buzz Bixi brought with it may just be the push it needed.
I mean, I ride my bike regularly, but if I happen to be, downtown without my bike and I needed to get somewhere quickly, I think that I would use this.
Where other plans have failed in the past, this new plan seems to have wheels. This is Bride in Suits, Observer Television, Toronto.
Canada left Nagano, Japan with lots of hardware this weekend. The short track speed skating team is coming home from the World Cup with 4 medals. The men's 5,000 meter relay team won gold, while the women's 3,000 meter relay picked up bronze medals. Canada also dominated the podium in the men's 1,500 meter race. Charles Hamlin won the silver and Olivier Jean finished third. Torontonians got a taste of the NFL yesterday. The Buffalo Bills headed north for the first of 5 regular season games they'll be playing in the city. It wasn't much of a game though. The Bills were beaten by the Miami Dolphins 16-3. The game got a big turnout in Canada with the Rogers Centre almost at capacity. People braved the -20 weather for a pregame tailgate party. Torontonians will get to see more national football action in the new year.
Thanks, Abby. And that's a look at sports. Now over to Katherine Wellman for her thought of the day.
Thanks, Andrew. 'Tis the season for reindeer, Santa Claus, and shopping. Every year I procrastinate when it comes to buying presents. I think that the reason why I always wait so long is because I hate going to malls during the holiday season. This weekend was my first attempt to do some Christmas shopping. I was in Winners trying to navigate my way through the busy store when a woman stopped walking directly in front of me in the aisle to have a conversation with her friend. I ran into her. I said sorry, but then as I went to walk around her, she stuck out her arm to point at something and clotheslined me. The worst part is she looked mad because I had run into her twice. I find it very frustrating that people do not have the common courtesy to move out of the way to have conversations in crowded aisles. Christmas is always busy in the malls, and people need to be aware that they are not the only person in the room. So please, when you go to the mall this holiday season, go with a plan. Don't just wander aimlessly. Also, if you must stop walking, try to stay to the side so that people don't run into you. Walk with the crowd, not against it. Trust me, it's easier. And if you step on or run into someone else, say sorry. It will keep everyone cheerier this holiday season. Happy shopping. Stay tuned for weather with Allison coming up after the break.
Few relationships in life are more important than the one between you and your Michelin tires. Rugged, long-lasting... Well, welcome back, and get those parkas out of the closet and slap on the snow tires on your car. Central Canada, it's cold, and yes, there is snow. But as we look to Western Canada, BC is having a nice day today, with variable clouds and a high of 7 degrees. And as we move east, Alberta is seeing a bit of snow today, starting off with flurries in the morning, but then tapering off by midday, high of -3. And as we move further east, the prairies can expect to see some sun today, but you will feel chill in your bones. Saskatchewan is looking at a high of -16, and Winnipeg a chilly -17. And as we move to the east coast, we will see some snow today. The white stuff will drop into Nova Scotia this afternoon, but not enough to stick, high of -5. And it's sunny in Quebec, high of -4. High of -14, but the wind chill, it feels more like -23. And Ontario, said good morning to flurries today, but those are expected to taper off throughout the day with less than 1 centimeter expected. Right now it's -9, but that should climb to a high of -3 by midday. And taking a look at a 3-day forecast for Toronto, Toronto can expect varying precipitation, light rain tomorrow with a high of +4. Snow again on Wednesday, but only as much as 3 centimeters to be expected. High of +4. And currently, the temperature is -9 in the city. Flurries will continue for most of the day, so take your time on the roads today because they may be slippery in your area. And that's your Observer TV weather. Now back to the news desk for a final word.
For today, for more news, log on to torontoobserver.ca. On behalf of all of us here at Observer TV News, thanks for watching and have a great day. Good show, right?